Wachovia Chief Executive Bob Steele to the list of CEOs not receiving a bonus this year. He follows, of course, as we mentioned, Merrill Lynch Chief Executive John Thain and Morgan Stanley's John Mack. And several companies, such as UBS and Morgan Stanley, will withhold a portion of their employees' bonuses for 3 years. If an employee doesn't make the right move, the employee doesn't get paid. Is that fair? We're going to talk about it a little bit. Stephen Hall, Managing Director of Stephen Hall Partners, and Russ Gerson is the founder and CEO of the Gerson Group. That's actually Stephen. This is actually Russ. But nice to have you both here, so great to have you. Russ, talk to us a little bit about these other employees that are going to be on the list and other chief executives that are not going to get their bonuses this year.
Well, if you look at the performance of these institutions, they don't really deserve bonuses. And you know, historically, we've gotten to a frame of mind where these chief executives and senior professionals expect large bonuses.
But isn't that part of their contract? I mean, sometimes you take a base salary knowing that, listen, this job is going to get you a certain bonus, and that's part of the reason why you accept the position.
That is what the perception has become. The perception has become that they deserve this, but they still get fairly large compensation base salaries anyway, and they should really only get paid if they perform.
And Stephen, is that true then as well, not only for the big bosses, but you got middle managers, you have just entry-level employees? Does it apply down the line?
Well, it should apply down the line, but it's probably not this year. What we're seeing is that CEOs are going to be taking it on the chin to a large extent based on performance. And as you go further down, the word that we're hearing in comp committee meetings and board meetings is discretion. And that means, gosh, these people at the lower levels, we should do something for them, and then it's going to move up. So high potential people be taken care of to some degree, maybe not as well as in past years, but at the top, it's going to be a tough year.
And so, what do you make of that? Do you think that really the big bosses should be the ones that are taking this on the chin, or is it the entire company that failed if they had a bad performance?
Well, it almost doesn't matter at this point. You know, the world is moving so fast and in such a negative view of executives and executive pay that that's the one that's clearly disclosed, and those are the people that are going to have to take the hit.
So, Russ, we were mentioning that plan for Morgan Stanley about, listen, if you're going to get a bonus, but you're going to have to wait at least 3 years to get it, and it depends on how you're planning and your strategy if you even get all of that. And that's supposed to keep employees really committed to long-term planning rather than the quick buck so they boost their bonus. I mean, what about maybe just a little switch to the way that bonuses are handed out?
Yeah, I think that's the future of Wall Street compensation, where because you're taking risks in many cases, and you don't really know what the result of taking those risks are going to be for a couple of years, it really makes sense that you defer that compensation for 2 or 3 years out.
Yeah, either way, because if you, like we saw, making that quick buck was just too powerful to overcome, and some risky bets were made.
Well, Wall Street historically sort of had to do that, because Wall Street's always paid people. They've always paid people what they need to pay to keep them. And historically, there was always a bit of way for a professional to go to another institution. Well, today, there aren't very many opportunities for these professionals to go other places.
All right, so it sounds like what you're saying is the bonuses, at least the way the business plan was with the bonuses, as it was even a year ago, is gone.
The whole industry has been transformed.
And Stephen, do you agree with that?
Yeah. The one thing I would add is, though, it's been, to some degree, it's been happening all along. Stock, for the last 10 or 15 years, the major portion of bonus has been paid out in the form of stock, which was for the idea of keeping you tied into where things were going. And if you didn't stay with the company or the company didn't perform, you were going to get less value or no value.
Well, so Russ, what about employee retention, though? If you don't have these big, incentives dangling out in front of them, the environment is unpredictable at best. How do you keep the top talent then? Well,
I think employee retention is always important, but it's less important today.
Why?
Because I think professionals in these institutions have become more commodities. You know, the top people are always going to get paid, but the days where sort of the standard managing director in a Wall Street firm making 7 figures are over.
So does that mean that there's a bigger gap between the high salaries, I should say, and those that are just kind of your entry-level salaries, and the middle managers are gone?
People have always been paid at high levels, even at the very junior level right out of school. The whole level, where chief executives are making 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 million dollars, that's over. The time where a managing director would make 1, 2, 3, 5 million dollars are over. The associates, actually, and the vice presidents that were making 2, 3, 400,000, they're still probably going to be at a reasonably level close to where it is. But the higher level people, the managing directors, are coming way down.
And Stephen, real quick here, good thing overall for the industry? Is this the right change?
Well, it's probably a good thing. I mean, anything that creates more accountability and more sense in terms of the way they're doing business makes an awful lot of sense for shareholders and everyone involved.
You know, my grandmother turned to me the other day. She was on the phone. She said, you know, Jenna, it just makes more sense now. And I think it was telling. Just at that point, Stephen, Russ, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll keep an eye on those bonuses. Next year, they sneak back up. We're pulling you back in.
Okay.
Make sure you know it.